You are listening to C-Suite Perspectives, a podcast by the Conference Board.
Welcome to C-Suite Perspectives, a signature series by the Conference Board. I'm Ivan Pollard, the leader of the Marketing and Communications Center at the Conference Board, and I am the guest host of today's podcast episode. And today we're going to discuss how AI and regulation will impact product development and help shape a customer-first strategy. Joining me, and thank you for joining, is Sean Murray, Chief Product Officer at Barclays US Consumer Bank. Welcome, Sean. Tell us a little about your role at Barclays.
Ivan, thanks very much for having me today. A little bit about myself and my role. I've been at Barclays in the US Consumer Bank for about 5 years. I am the Chief Product Officer for the US Consumer Bank, which essentially means I oversee our product development and product management of our what you would consider traditional bank products, such as credit cards, savings accounts, as well as personal loans, as well as our digital channels. So I oversee our web, mobile, and our open banking gateway, and all those experiences that we deliver for our customers.
Wow. Big job. And I know you've been doing product development for quite a while, not just at Barclays. So over time, Sean, how, in your experience, has the product development process evolved?
Yeah, when I first started, and it was quite a while ago, as you mentioned, I've been at it for a bit. I've seen the product development evolve in terms of the approach. When I first started, it was very, what I would call, and it's regarding the industry, waterfall, in terms of very sequential, very kind of laid down in a very specific way, which we used to write big, large requirement documents that we would then send over the technology team. They would chew on it for a few weeks, send it back with some markups and some comments about what could be done, what can't be done, and then have large estimates and a large number of people that would go through it. It was a very kind of sequential, slow kind of process. And you really had to know what you were going to do a year out in good detail. Now I've seen it transform into a more iterative process, and many companies, such as beyond just Barclays alone, have moved to enterprise agile as a method of delivering. And it's a more iterative, more ability to kind of pivot on a quarter-to-quarter basis, and also move work in as efficiencies are gained and capacity is realized.
That's interesting. So from the sequential waterfall that's slow to an agile process that's iterative and much faster, so more responsive and faster to market. So so when we think about that shift, I'd love you to sort of tell us a little about what's ahead and emerging trends that you see influencing product development, especially in the financial services industry, over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think the biggest trends, there's one, it's one regarding organizational, as I was touching on about enterprise agile. Many firms have already moved there. Barclays overall is in the middle of really a transformation in that space in terms of really going to a full enterprise agile, where it's not just technology teams working in the agile space versus the entire organization, including our product area, our operations, as well as some of our other front office business teams in a more agile type process. We introduced a few years ago design thinking methodology to our product team. We had everyone trained in design thinking process, and we've got now about 12 to 14 certified design thinking practitioners within our product office and our marketing team that help with that whole gathering ideas through that funnel, iterating on the ideas, prototyping, testing, and getting it through. That's really helped us as an organization in terms of how we think about and how we design new products and experiences for customers. And then on the other side, you've got technology solutions growing at an exponential rate. And Gen AI obviously is a hot topic, and that's one that's really starting to change and impact all firms and sectors, including financial services.
So that's cool. So the agile methodology combined with design thinking to be able to tap into the exponential rate of growth and possibility from AI. let me ask you a strange question, which is there anything from the old methodologies of that waterfall sequential, almost like, gates process? Is there anything that we're missing these days?
I think the best parts of that old process are still used today. Like we'll use them for certain activities, like when we do a new partner launch. We distribute all our products through co-brands, and so when we do that, we bring on a new partner. We'll have call it a traditional product program approach to it, where we'll have milestones. I think some of those key things are still true, and not all of them disappear. Certainly, like the testing and before you go to full production live, and making sure that everything is the way it should be. We'll stage things, make sure it's tested, vetted well. Those things still carried over from the past. So there's still some really, I would say, strong tenets that survive. It's more about the call it the in between, about how you handle and develop and iterate in there.
That's cool. So I think that's a good note for everybody. What worked in the past doesn't just fail and fade away. You just carry forward the things that are still useful, but you have to be willing to change. So you mentioned Gen AI and just the explosion of possibilities there. The financial sector is a data rich, but very important to keep safety and regulation there. It's a data rich kind of sector. So what way do you see those digital technologies impacting your products in the banking and finance sector, especially with relation to AI?
Yeah, so I think that the big impact there is with the products, and then the intersection with digital and data and so forth. It's the ability to actually serve up relevant information, and we call it next best action versus offers, because it may not be an offer versus what's the next piece of information or content our customers need to better receive service from Barclays. So it's not necessarily another offer for another product, versus it might be information or access to something they've been trying to find within our website or mobile app that they aren't able to find. Because the more capabilities we build, the harder it is to make sure that navigationally a customer can find all the things that we build. We're looking at things like Gen AI to help decipher that, understand customer needs, and potentially bring up content or services to them that they are searching for, right? And bypass the need for them to call one of our care agents for what I would call a tedious act versus something more relevant and important. So that's part of it. Data plays a huge part of that. One from needed for the Gen AI piece, but also from how do we better understand our customer? How do we better understand their needs? And when they're coming into our digital experiences, is it every month that they're coming in? Is it to check whether or not a payment is posted or to review their transactions? How can we better then serve up that information to them, knowing that that's what they're coming in for?
I mean, when you do look at the arc of time, and I think back to my first bank account in the 1970s in England, and what it took just to get some cash out of the bank or pay a bill, it is amazing what's happened. With that data and that AI application and this kind of serving the customer, to what degree do you feel we're getting down to the hyper-personalized level, or is it still kind of typologies?
I think it depends on, I think some institutions, some companies are further along than others. I also think it depends on the space too. I think the Googles of the world, the Metas of the world, are able to go a little bit faster in that space, and obviously they're investing heavily in it, versus a financial services kind of sector that needs to go carefully in it. We're a heavily regulated industry. We have to ensure that the information that we're putting in front of a customer is accurate, and there's no issues with it. And so I think we are certainly at Barclays going very carefully in that space and making sure that we're doing it right, we're doing it safely, and call it within bounds.
I think that's refreshing to hear, of course, with all of us with our money, especially with people like you. But the healthcare sector, the finance sector, and the entertainment sector, three of the fastest moving in AI, and having to be safe and yet doing that in the agile process, the fail forward fast kind of thought. What challenges do organizations in general, rather than Barclays in particular, what challenges do organizations face when integrating AI into their product development process? And how would you advise people to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think the key thing is one is creating the right foundation for a Gen AI platform. If they're not building the right foundation and building it correctly where it can scale and access the data that they need, I think that would be a critical misstep. So that's one of the things that we're looking at is how do we build the right infrastructure. I think two is setting the right, call it, use cases. We see a lot of access. Everybody wants to do something front end, customer facing, versus there's a lot of ability for internal use for any company, whether it's health in the drug industry and how they develop versus the financial sectors in terms of how do we automate processes that are manual today and be in better control than we are today. So it's not necessarily all this front end customer facing capabilities that to apply Gen AI to, versus there's a lot of internal elements that you can adhere to. I think then it's access to data, and how do you do that? How do you do that real time? How do you do it efficiently? Because Gen AI consumes a lot of energy, so to speak, right? And it consumes a lot of data. And then also, what is that model going to look like? Where do you cap it in terms of how far does it go and reach for data? And that obviously in the beginning steps of Gen AI, you saw a lot of missteps in terms of the large language models that went and grabbed data and then created inaccurate information or fictional kind of information. And that's one of the things that you got to make sure your models don't do.
I think that's really, really powerful. So, build on a platform, get the data. I love that thought about know when to cap the data search, because I think a lot of people are not doing that at the moment. And then having the computer power and the electronic power to actually service all that and doing it efficiently. And that thought of combining, the external facing and the internal facing. Now, you are right. A lot of organizations looked to that customer facing thing, but actually that's one of those powerful areas. So, in your opinion, how are these digital experiences impacting the overall customer experience?
Digital for us and for my career is, well, I've always had digital and product throughout my entire career. And so for me, it is one of the biggest priorities. And for us, we're a digital bank, the US Consumer Bank for Barclays. We do not have any branches. We service our customers. They're either going to call, hit our IVR, or they speak to a customer care agent, or ideally go to our digital estate, one of our properties, whether it be the web, mobile, or even in one of our co-brands where we integrate with to actually service their account and get their information. So digital, I think it's about 91+% of our interactions with our customers are digital today. And we're looking to grow that number. And it's not just about us, the bank, it's actually where our customers want to interact with us. It is by far the preferred choice of our customers. Our ratings in terms of service ratings from our customers are highest through our digital channels. It has been well defined by them as their preference. So we invest heavily in that experience, and we've been changing in terms of focusing on making sure we're customer first in the way that we build our experiences. I don't know that we always were in the past. Now it's all about the customer. If we can build that experience correctly, if we can get those moments of truth correct, remove friction from the process, make it simple for them, then we see the experience engagement grow exponentially.
I think that's great. Keep it simple, understand the customer, remove the friction. Again, when you look at the other markets in the world where Barclays will have brick and mortar branches, what do you see the benefits for the consumer being? Just being able to be digital.
Real-time access. It's the ability to get things done. I call them those interstitial moments, whether it's a parent at different moments catching like a minute to go and check on their account or make a payment, whether at their kid's ball game or something like that. I know for me, I do all my banking on my mobile phone, and we've seen that space grow incredibly over the last few years. Where we've grown to mobile users over 56% in the last 2 years. So it is those, for me, like as I define them, those interstitial moments where customers are grabbing a bit of time to grab their phone, log in, service their account, check on their account, make sure everything's good, and then move on and get back to what they were doing. So, for us, it's being where our customers want us to be, and that's how we've been kind of our approach from the digital side is making sure that we get those experience right and we're there wherever our customer needs us.
Yeah, that's excellent. 56% growth. Everybody note that from Sean. Okay, let's take a short break. We're going to be right back with my conversation with Sean Murray.
What does the future of work mean for your employees? How will your company navigate ESG? Will there be a global recession? At the Conference Board, our experts translate the latest research and economic analysis into insights and real-time problem solving for your organization. Membership at the Conference Board provides your team with an assortment of knowledge, from economics, marketing and communications, ESG, public policy, and human capital. As a member, you'll have access to our center experts, member-exclusive events, data and benchmarking tools, and peer sharing that will help you understand the present and shape the future. Consider becoming a Conference Board member today by visiting www.conference-board.org.
Welcome back to C-Suite Perspectives. I'm Ivan Pollard, the leader of the Marketing and Communications Center at the Conference Board, and I'm joined by Sean Murray in the middle of a conversation. He's the Chief Product Officer of Barclays US Consumer Bank, and we're talking about the impact of digital on the transformation of the whole finance sector, actually, and of banking in particular, and its consumer centricity. So, Sean, with this rapid pace of technological change that we mentioned, how can companies ensure that their product development process remains compliant with the regulations? And you're a very regulated area, and yet you're starting to go super fast.
That we are. We are definitely heavily regulated in financial services. I think the key thing that we have a constant communication and engagement with our compliance and legal teams. So that's step one is I don't expect my folks to be experts on every bit of regulation in the team, but I expect them to be engaging the right folks and ensuring that we are staying in step and in bounds, as I call it, with that. So any type of body of work that we do, any product development, certainly goes through those checks. We engage with those teams. They're signing off on the work that we're doing and ensuring that we are being compliant and meeting any regulations. Two is just we continually get information relative to changes in our regulations that are associated to the governing bodies for over Barclays. So whether it's through those teams or our government relations team that's letting us know what changes are coming. So we're constantly engaging with them. And then it's a matter of ensuring the communication, it gets disseminated across the teams. I think the biggest issue is where breakdowns are when communication breaks down. If we're not sharing information, that's when we lose, and that's when we take a misstep. So it is truly ensuring that. The other piece is we put a lot of focus on controls. It's not necessarily the sexiest thing in the world, but it's the thing that keeps us compliant. We have control officers within the product office team that are ensuring that we're properly taking the steps we need to, and also proactively raising our hand when we find an issue and making sure that we're addressing it and we're putting resources to it. So we don't take any of that for granted. It's just part of the work we do and part of the process.
To what extent do you think that actually extends to almost any sector with the advent of AI? If I'm making a new soda or designing a new running shoe, should I be thinking of the same, that two-way communication, constant control officers, and making sure that you're compliant?
Yeah, I don't think we're unique by any means, right? We didn't invent anything special versus I think it's something that is absolutely or should be consistent across various sectors, various industries. There's no way you can't be unless you really aren't regulated at all, right? And there few areas that nowadays that you can find that are void of that. So without a doubt, I think it is something that is systematic approach across.
That's cool. And this idea of staying connected, of course, to your own internal teams, but you mentioned earlier as well, that external facing, staying connected to the customer. So as you're using all of these new insights and understanding of what the customer needs, kind of like that famous quote about, I'm going to understand my customers so well, I'll give them what they need before they even know it. So how do you manage to stay connected to the broader organization so that your product development, will impact the consumer and help the customer journey from product discovery to post-search purchase support? How do you weave that together?
Yeah. So and we're in the middle of transitioning it more as at the same time we're doing the enterprise agile is going to a journey-based approach. So we are actually organizing our product development around key journeys. And we have what I would call 5 umbrella journeys, like big master journeys that encompass multiple sub journeys, like becoming a customer, as an example, using my product, managing my product, so forth. So we look at those journeys, and then we look at those key sub journeys underneath where we're now focusing on to say, okay, what is it's not just a snippet within there, but it's what's the true end to end and across all channels. So not just looking at it from a microscope and looking at one channel versus, okay, what are the various channels a customer can, somebody could become a customer, and then what are all the experiences look like, and where are the breaks in that experience, in that flow? So where do we need to improve upon? We, without a doubt, we're not perfect, but we got a lot of work to do there. But we are identifying and organizing and marshaling kind of around that. And I think my view is if we get it right and we focus on the customer, everything else will happen. Like customers will be happy, they'll use our products more, they'll want the Barclay card to be top of wallet, and our co-brands will be happy, and ultimately we'll be happy because customers using our products only means good things for us. So I think if we do that and the way we're organizing, I think that's the win. I think by focusing there, that's the game changer we believe for us. And so, like I mentioned before, I think in the past we were probably more product or account focused versus looking at it from a customer and a customer relationship and delivering on those key needs.
That's fantastic. So this customer centricity, it's interesting. We mentioned earlier a little bit of, some of the old thinking is still great as long as you can apply it in the new modality of kind of the technological world. It's interesting, those 5 journeys with the sub journeys. How far do you take that down to that personalized level?
Yeah, and so you can go super deep, right? And right now we aren't going that deep, only in particular moments. So when it comes to call it that initial experience of becoming a customer, we're going to go very deep. Certain aspects of use in terms of like how to use your product and what is potentially some personalized content or offers to help based off of your behaviors, and then how you've used, say, our credit cards in the past. There we'll go very deep there. I think in the beginning, though, or right now for us, we're going to keep it at a let's get the key journey itself right. Let's simplify it. Let's remove friction, like I was talking about before. And then the other thing to mention too about making sure we stay customer first is putting key metrics and goals around it. Our OKRs, our objectives and key results for our teams, making sure that those results that we expect, part of them are around customer metrics in terms of satisfaction and delivering on the needs, besides just business and financial goals, right? So I think that all plays a hand into making sure that the priorities are driven and we're hitting on those customer needs.
Really good points. So customer centricity, you better have some way of measuring how satisfied, delighted, and impressed your customers are. On that thought, those 5 journeys from the first one, which is becoming a customer, to I guess the last one, which is never ever ever changing my bank account because I'm so happy. How do you ensure long-term loyalty in this kind of changing world?
I think it goes to what we are just talking about, which is, it is about customer. And if you're putting, and the customer feels like you're there for them, you're there in those moments of truth. Like, hey, if they need a credit line increase on their account and they've been a good customer in great standing, that they get it and they get that need delivered. That when they're actually using their card or their product at a store, they don't get declined. They're able to make a purchase because we're smart enough to understand it's them versus a fraudster. So, like I said, those moments of truth is if we keep delivering on those, if we're taking a customer first approach, customers aren't going to want to leave. They're not going to go. They won't have a need to go shop somewhere else.
Mm.
A customer leaves when, and to your point, you don't want to leave your bank that you. I still have my bank account from the first bank when I was in college, and so I'll always have it because they've never taken a misstep with me. They've never treated me poorly. They've always had the products and services I've needed. And obviously, I'm a Barclay customer, and I ensure that we deliver in this the same as a Barclay employee to our customers to ensure they're getting all those key deliverables and all those key needs are met. So if we remove the need for them to shop somewhere else, they'll continue to be engaged. They'll be loyal to us.
And I think that is a really big message to everybody is, winning a customer is one thing, keeping that customer happy for life is another part of the job. And I think if you do it well, you're right, people don't want to move. Having said that, here's a bit of a curveball question for you. As we start to hear about the development of AI agents and taking away the stress of moving a bank, if I can say into my phone, hey, go shop around for the best bank at the moment, I think that experience that you've delivered becomes even more important because if we take the barrier down for change, my commitment to the company that's been committed to me is super important. So what do you think about that? About making sure, is it going to get even more of a hard game to play to keep your customers satisfied because it might become easier to move?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it will be too. I mean, over the last few years, right? Just the ability to access information and content about different products and kind of do that competitive search, whether even if it's banking versus anything now. My first step typically is to go Google something and then do a search and find out information on it, and then yeah, you get served up a lot of different competition, a lot of sponsored pieces as well. So making sure that you're delivering on those aspects and making sure too that the content is there and call it findable, if that's a word, but the ability to make information and data accessible so that you are relevant, you are in that kind of find in the future as well as today going forward. It's critical. You take a wrong step, wrong information or bad information about your reputation, about your services, things like the star ratings we don't take for granted either, right? And customer verbatims in terms of what they're sharing to other customers about, because now you can, to your point, use Gen AI, Chat GPT, go find me some information about what's the best banking mobile app, and all of that stuff is readily available. Those Gen AI tools can consume that data and share it back to a consumer at any point. So it's critical, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think underneath this, it's interesting hearing you talk, Sean, because you might have a product today that is absolutely delightful, but if you don't keep that agile process going to always constantly get ahead of what's next, you will get left behind.
Yeah.
You and I might Google something. My daughter, she Geminis it, so she doesn't even bother to. She doesn't type. She just talks into her phone, and that's it. I should take her phone away and make her go and buy her own account. That would probably
Yeah.
save me money. So on
I'm
that,
still old school. I'm still typing, but I got friends that are doing that. I just can't. I don't know. Can't seem to get used to doing that.
yeah, and it's I mean it's freak. I mean the notion of trust I think comes into the Gen AI and
Yeah.
ChatGPT style interactions, but it's going to keep evolving. So as it evolves, what's your thoughts about future-proofing your offerings to anticipate and adapt to those shifts in customer preferences and tech advancements? How do you stay ahead of it all?
Yeah, that one's a tough one, right? It comes because technology is changing so fast, right? It's just you watch things in movies and then 10 years now they're reality, right? So being able to change, you have it comes down to organizational for one, for me. Like it still comes down to those key principles, regardless of what time, in this industry you've been in it. People in terms of the organization about being agile, being able to pivot quickly, being able to see a change, and then being able to deprioritize something and prioritize something that is now relevant. Similar like Gen AI, many companies pivoted quickly and said, "Okay, this is real, this is now, and then we've really got to put some focus here." I think so. That comes down to organizational construct and culture and the ability to kind of adapt to these new things. The other is building solutions in a way that's more component based versus some megalith kind of machine that you can't plug and play. So having the right infrastructure, the right solution architecture that you can actually change components out of it without having to shut everything down or replace everything is critical. And that's been obviously over the last 10 plus years a very growing kind of approach in terms of whether it's microservices and APIs and the ability to kind of plug and play different components of software and capabilities. So I think that's another element in terms of one, it's organizational, two, it's the way that you build your solutions and being able to adapt when needed.
Brilliant. Organizational construct, a culture that is always ready and willing to adapt. I love what you say about being willing to deprioritize in order to get the
Yeah.
next thing done. That's really good. And then that notion of building modular product solutions that they themselves can adapt rather than just the organization. Well, let's wrap this up, Sean. And if I ask you one last question, if you could leave all executives, not just the finance industry, but all executives with an insight for how product development plays such a vital role in the success of a business, what would you tell them?
So my thought on this is, and it's funny, it changes from company to company, industry to industry, product development and what it means. For me and the value that my team delivers, it really truly is about taking business and customer needs and translating them into real experience and solutions. We are the glue, so to speak, between the end customer and the technology and the solutions that we build, and making sure that we build them in the right way, and that we're understanding customer needs and translating those into theoretically basically what it comes down to is requirements. Epics, features, and user stories that go and define what their experiences are. So I think without a strong product development process and team and culture, you're going to end up missing out on the right experiences and delivering on customer needs. You can't do it without product development.
I think that's a super way of ending. It's somewhere between the glue in the old world that connects what the customer wants and what the company can do, to almost like a fiber optic cable. And in the future, when we get the time travel portal open, because all things in films come to life.
That's right. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to get there, and
no more traffic.
and the product, no more traffic, and a lot better customer service. So I kind of love it. So Sean, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to all of you for listening to C-Suite Perspectives. I'm Ivan Pollard, and this series has been brought to you by the Conference Board. And thank you, Sean Murray, Chief Product Officer of the US Consumer Bank for Barclays. A great case study in hundreds of years of keeping the customer happy and knowing that next year we're going to all have to change yet again. So thank you, Sean.
You have been listening to C-Suite Perspectives, a podcast by the Conference Board.